So, you're right there. You're about to hit publish on your company's big ESG report. Your whole statement on environmental, social, and governance performance. You've got all the data, the design looks fantastic, and that deadline is just breathing down your neck. But hang on, before you do anything, we really need to talk.
And hey, this isn't just my opinion. This insight comes straight from the experts at Pearce Sustainability Consulting Group. They're on the front lines, and they see companies making the same critical mistake over and over again when it comes to ESG reporting. Today, we're going to unpack exactly what that is.
Does this whole scene feel just a little too familiar? The pressure is coming from everywhere, isn't it? Investors, board members, regulators, and the message is loud and clear. Get that report out the door and get it out now.
But here's the warning, and this is the absolute key to everything we're talking about today. Putting together a report is not, I repeat, not the same thing as being ready. These are two totally different concepts, and getting them mixed up can be a really costly mistake.
Okay, so let's break that down. The first and most important idea you have to get your head around is this. The simple act of reporting doesn't magically create a real strategy. The pressure from the outside to just get a report done is immense. We get it. But a beautifully designed, super polished PDF can basically act like a mask, right? It can hide what's really going on inside, which is often a messy and completely disconnected reality. And that's where the real danger is.
And that messy reality? Well, it actually has a name. It's called the hidden governance gap. It's that dangerous space between what you say you're doing in your nice, shiny report and what your organization is actually set up to do day to day.
And some of these symptoms, they might ring a bell. You see stuff like governance fragmentation. Want a quick red flag? If you can count like 3 or more different committees all touching ESG in some way, you've probably got it. Then there's data based on assumptions nobody's ever really checked. Or ESG being owned by, say, the marketing department when it should really be living in strategy or finance. And a big one, climate risk is treated like this little side issue stuck over in operations, miles away from the executive team. The common thread in all of this, it's always a rush to report before the leadership team has any real internal clarity.
So this is what that disconnect looks like in the wild. Your report might be screaming about a comprehensive climate strategy, but in reality, the person who actually owns it is a junior manager in operations with zero budget and no real authority. The report boasts about data-driven social metrics, but behind the curtain, those numbers are pretty much built on guesswork. This is the governance gap, plain and simple.
So, why does this gap matter so much? Well, because it doesn't stay hidden forever. Eventually, it bubbles up to the surface and leads to some very real, very public, and very high-stakes consequences.
First up, regulatory exposure. With all these new, much stricter rules demanding corporate sustainability reporting, like Europe's CSRD or the new rules from the SEC, a report that doesn't line up with your internal controls becomes a massive liability. Saying you're in control when you're really not. That is a regulator's dream and a company's absolute nightmare.
Next on the list is distrust. Investors and stakeholders are getting so much smarter about this. They can spot a report that's all style and no substance from a mile away. They're asking tougher questions, and if your answers don't hold water, that trust just evaporates. And once it's gone, it is incredibly hard and expensive to get it back. And finally, the one nobody even wants to think about, litigation. See, misrepresenting your ESG performance isn't just bad PR anymore. Regulators and courts are starting to treat it as a form of securities fraud, and that opens the door to some serious, potentially devastating legal battles.
So these aren't just some abstract fears we're talking about. The real-world risks are huge, and they're all connected. You're staring down regulatory exposure, growing investor distrust, the potential for a sudden reputational shock, and it all comes from that one core problem: internal misalignment.
Okay, so that's the problem. And yeah, it's a serious one. But, and this is a big but, it is not unsolvable. There's a clear, logical way forward. Let's talk about the path to clarity.
The whole solution starts with a pretty fundamental shift in how you think about this. It's actually this simple. Before you even think about reporting to the outside world, you absolutely must diagnose what's happening in your internal world first. So what's the correct order of operations here? Well, it all starts with step 1, diagnose governance. This means getting your executive team in a room and getting crystal clear on where ESG and climate risk actually live in your company. Who really owns it? Who's got the budget?
who has the power to say yes or no. Then you move to step 2, align strategy. Once you know what the reality is, then you can make sure your internal structures can actually support the big public promises you want to make. And only then, as step 3, do you report with confidence, knowing that what you're saying publicly is a true reflection of a strong, aligned reality on the inside. Now let's be honest, getting that initial clarity with a bunch of busy executives is often the hardest part. That's exactly why experts recommend doing a short, focused effort. Think of it like a readiness sprint, to get that clarity before you get bogged down in the reporting process itself. It's all about having the hard internal conversations first. At the end of the day, it all comes down to this one single, powerful idea. If your leadership team doesn't have clarity, no amount of reporting, no matter how beautiful it is going to fix the underlying problem. A report can't create a strategy for you. It can only reflect the one you've got.
And that right there is the crucial takeaway from the team at Pearce Sustainability Consulting Group. So before you hit publish, you have to ask yourself, are you showing the world a house that's truly in order, or are you just showing them a really beautiful facade?